The morning light filtered through the kitchen window as I sipped the last of my coffee. Maeve was bustling around the house, brushing her hair in the hallway mirror, already dressed in her light gray yoga pants and that purple hoodie I once bought her. She smiled at me briefly, a smile that had once made my heart race. Now, it barely stirred anything. "Frank's picking you up in 5, right?" she asked. "Yeah," I replied, standing to rinse my mug. "You sure you'll be okay on your own?" She gave a playful shrug. "I'm a big girl. I'll be fine. Enjoy the woods." We hugged mechanically. No kiss. No hesitation either. Just a routine send-off like every other hunting season. Frank's truck rumbled into the driveway, shaking the loose window panes. I grabbed my gear, nodded goodbye, and walked out without looking back. I should have sensed it then, how tightly she shut the door, not even watching me drive away. Frank was all energy and caffeine, loading up the truck bed with precision. "Put your rifle in the front drawer," he said, tapping the compartment behind the cab. We drove north toward the family cabin, his late uncle's property. It had been renovated, insulation, wood stove, even a satellite dish now. Frank was proud. "There's no cell signal out there," he said. "But with Wi-Fi, you've got WhatsApp if you want to call Maeve." I shook my head. She doesn't expect much contact, and frankly, I like being off-grid. Dinner was cold beer and Sports Center. We laughed, argued about football, then fell into our own rhythms, him on his laptop, me reading a worn copy of Winter Prey. Normal, comforting, until Frank went still. "Oh hell," he muttered, eyes glued to his screen. I lowered my book. "What's up?" He hesitated, then turned the laptop toward me. You need to see this." It wasn't the news. It was a dating site. And it was my wife. At first I thought, no way, fake, stolen pictures, scam, but no. I recognized the dress in one of the photos. I had picked it out for her last Christmas, and the photo was recent. She'd uploaded it. For men looking for something twisted. "Can you help me with my daddy issues?" the profile said. My stomach lurched. "It got worse," she described me, not vaguely. Specifically, hair, height, build. It wasn't her father she was fantasizing about. It was me, a version of me, younger, separate. Frank was quiet, watching me crumble. "Look," he said, "some women don't cheat because they're unhappy. Sometimes it's just a fantasy." I didn't respond. My jaw clenched. And then we saw the message thread. She wasn't new to this. She had scheduled a date. This weekend, while I was out here, she was inviting strangers into our house. Frank looked at me. "If we leave now, we'll be there in 3 hours." I hesitated, then nodded. It was no longer a hunting trip. It was war. Frank leaned back, frowning, scrolling through the dating site with practiced caution. "I mean, maybe it's some kind of deep fake thing," he muttered, though even he didn't believe that anymore. But I knew the curve of her cheek, the way she tilted her head when she smiled. The photos weren't stolen, they were intentional. Maeve had uploaded them. And worse, the way she wrote that profile. It wasn't just a fling. It was an idea, a twisted one. And I was the mold she was trying to replicate with strangers. Frank clicked into the messaging history. We scanned lines of casual depravity. Then there it was, an open invitation for a 3-day weekend. "I'll be free Friday and Sunday. I have the house to myself. If you match my type, let's talk." Frank whispered, "That's this weekend." I stood up, heart hammering. She knew I'd be gone. She planned it. Frank didn't say anything, just nodded grimly. I leaned over, eyes narrowing. "Swipe right on her. Use my picture." "What?" "Do it," I snapped. "She's looking for me. Let her think she found me. Let's see if she bites." Frank hesitated but followed through. He created a dummy profile and matched. Within minutes, Maeve responded. "You're exactly what I've been waiting for. Are you free Friday night?" I read the message. My stomach churned. "She doesn't waste time," Frank added. "She's done this before, man. Look at the chat log. Indeed, other messages painted a grim timeline. This wasn't new. This was a pattern. I turned to Frank. We're going back tonight. He didn't argue, just closed the laptop and started packing. The drive back was mostly silent. Frank played nothing on the radio. He respected the storm brewing inside me. At 10:45 p.m., we rolled into our neighborhood. My street was calm, quiet, but an unfamiliar car was parked across from my house. Frank slowed. That hers? I shook my head. No one ever parks on this street at night. I inhaled, exhaled. Go around the block. We circled into the alley. The back gate creaked open, unlocked. Typical. Maeve never remembered to latch it. I led the way, boots quiet on the grass. Our bedroom light was on, curtains drawn, but I saw movement. We crept closer. Through the small gap in the curtain, I saw her. Maeve, on the bed. With him. I froze. Rage shot up my spine. My hand reached instinctively for the Leatherman in my pocket. Frank gripped my wrist hard. Number. You don't want to go down that road. Not tonight. I wavered, but his eyes held me steady. We backed off. Through the gate. Into the truck. 15 minutes later, we sat in a dark grocery store parking lot, paper bags of fast food untouched. I want to go back in, I said flatly. Frank shook his head. And then what? Walk in on her and end up in cuffs? Number. We build proof. We prepare. He was right. I hated it, but he was right. Back at his apartment, Frank locked up the rifles and handed me tequila instead. I barely felt it burn. She's cheating on you. With you, Frank said, bewildered. It's like she wants you, but not you. You from the past, or a fantasy of you. I scoffed bitterly. Then she can keep the fantasy. But the worst part? I still loved her. That night, I barely slept. Instead, I made a plan. We'd turn the house into a trap. Frank helped me buy a new phone, install time-lapse apps, position hidden cameras, one in the bedroom, one in the living room, each set to auto-upload every 6 hours. I entered the house again at dawn, careful, silent. Collected old clothes, Idahos, documents, no trace. As I left, I looked back one more time. That wasn't home anymore. That was the site of betrayal, and I was going to reclaim the truth. The next data dump hit my cloud server at noon. Frank and I were camped at his dining table, half-eaten sandwiches between us, eyes locked on my laptop. My hand trembled slightly as I clicked open the folder. Images loaded slowly, one by one. The first set was empty. Neatly made bed, no signs. Then the second set. A man, young, muscled, short-cropped hair stepping into the frame. Maeve followed moments later, smiling like she was 20 again. I exhaled hard. That's not the guy from last night, Frank said, pointing. That's someone else. I nodded silently. The next frame, they were kissing. Then clothes hit the floor. 6 frames later, I couldn't take it anymore. I closed the lid. Frank stood and walked to the fridge. Want a beer or whiskey? Shot of bleach, maybe. He handed me a bottle of water instead. Cameras worked. That's good. Yeah, great. Now I get to watch her collect human samples like a sperm bank. Frank leaned against the counter, his expression darker. You think she's doing this for money? I don't know, I admitted. But she's selective. Did you notice that? They all kind of look like me. Frank raised an eyebrow. She described me in her profile. Maybe. Maybe she's not cheating in the way we thought. Meaning, what if she's trying to get pregnant with someone like me? Frank dropped his soda. Jesus, that's a new level. I rubbed my face. She and I have been trying for 11 months. It hasn't worked. She never mentioned a fertility test. What if she did one behind my back? What if I failed? Frank paced. You're saying she's out there shopping for jeans? That's exactly what I'm saying. He sat down hard. Man, that's triple crap. Triple crap indeed. Frank and I debated confronting her again, but he urged restraint. Wait until you talk to Kelly. get legal clarity. That afternoon, I used my new phone to pull old records, emails, texts, calendars, Maeve's cycle, notes on appointments she'd claimed were yoga or work. Some matched the camera dates. It was cold, clinical, calculated. I called Kelly. She listened in silence. Then, "Matt, this changes the dynamic. Do I have legal grounds for this? For adultery? Yes, and maybe more. If she was using deception to pursue insemination, there are ethical implications." I paused. "Do I need to get tested? To confirm I'm infertile?" "That might help your case, yes, but only if you're comfortable." I hesitated, then agreed. That night, I didn't sleep. Again. The truth wasn't just betrayal, it was strategy. Maeve hadn't just strayed. She had planned. And the worst part? She might still believe she was doing it for me. I didn't know if that made her more human. Or more dangerous. But I knew one thing. This was no longer just a broken marriage. It was a war of identities. And I had just begun to fight back. The next morning, Frank insisted I run. "Burn it off," he said, tossing me my shoes. I did 5 miles without music. Every step pounded out a thought, a memory, a moment I now questioned. Afterward, I stood under the cold shower for 10 minutes. Frank was waiting with coffee and a laptop. "Kelly sent a follow-up," he said, spinning the screen toward me. It was a list of case references, spouses using deception to inseminate, legal ramifications, medical ethics. One case involved a woman attempting the same tactic with donor profiles that matched her ex. She lost custody. I saved the file. "We build the case. We stay smart," Frank said. I nodded. No emotion, just evidence. But emotion never really goes away. Later that afternoon, while Frank napped, I opened the bedroom cam archive again. I told myself I was looking for data. Instead, I watched my wife laugh. Laugh like she hadn't in years. She touched these men the way she used to touch me. With hunger, with light. And I realized something far worse than betrayal. She wasn't just trying to get pregnant. She was happy. Happy without me. That night, I didn't drink. I backed up every file, saved everything twice, and stared at my wedding photo. It no longer looked like a promise. It looked like evidence. Monday morning arrived like a hangover from hell. I hadn't slept. My eyes burned. My chest felt hollow, and I moved through Frank's apartment like a ghost, but my mind was razor sharp. "Today," I muttered to myself, brushing my teeth. "We flipped the board." Frank met me in the kitchen, already suited up for war in cargo pants and a field jacket. "You ready? Let's go get the rest of my life back." First up, the bank. I chose one Maeve and I never used. I opened a personal account and split funds strategically, half of our vacation savings and about 20% of our main checking account, enough to leave the mortgage and bills intact but reallocate the power balance. The banker, a grizzled guy named Jim, didn't ask questions beyond the standard ones, but he looked at me like he'd seen this before. "Doing some financial spring cleaning?" "Something like that," I replied with a tight smile. He nodded. "You left just enough to keep your credit score safe." Smart. Next was T-Mobile. I bought a dual SIM phone with the highest camera quality available. I kept the old number active, but added a new number only Frank and my attorney would know. The employee was polite but suspicious. I told her I banged my knee while hiking. She didn't buy it but didn't pry. After syncing the apps, Frank and I met at Starbucks to finalize the plan. We mapped every motion. Entrances, exits, camera angles, upload intervals. I would re-enter the house via the alley. Maeve never remembered to lock the back gate. I would take nothing that looked intentional, only small things. Shirts, socks, toiletries. The goal was to look like I was still gone. Back at the house, I moved like a ghost. I retrieved legal documents from the attic, passport, birth certificate, marriage license, and a stack of receipts I didn't even remember keeping. From the closet safe, I took half the cash, about $1,000, but left the gold coins. Taking them might make her suspicious. Instead, I photographed everything. In the bedroom, I placed the phone camera between two ball caps, tilted just enough to capture most of the bed. I opened the blinds slightly. Let the light in. Let it catch everything. In the living room, I installed the trail camera high on the bookshelf. Its motion sensor would trigger only when someone entered the room. I tested it twice. Battery full, SD card empty. Ready. The phone was set to upload encrypted images to a cloud drive every 6 hours. I left the house 2 minutes before Frank's scheduled beep. We regrouped at the supermarket parking lot, parked across from the alley entrance. Frank passed me a drive-through burger and soda I didn't want. "Eat something," he said. "You need to stay sharp." "I feel sharp enough to slit throats," I muttered. He didn't laugh. Neither did I. That evening, the first upload hit. It worked. 6 images, clear as daylight. An empty bedroom, neatly made, no one home. We waited. Another upload arrived at midnight. A man entered the frame, different from the last two, and Maeve greeted him in a robe I bought her on our honeymoon. "Jesus Christ," Frank said. I didn't blink. "Don't react," I whispered. "We're just watching a crime scene unfold." Frank nodded slowly. "What next?" "Now," I said. Now we let her fill in the blanks. At 2 a.m., I saved the footage and encrypted it. The trap was set, and she had already stepped into it. I woke up Tuesday with a pulsing headache and a jaw sore from clenching. The image of Maeve in that honeymoon robe, welcoming yet another stranger into our bed, haunted me like a fever dream. Frank was already up, sipping black coffee and loading the trail cam footage into a laptop. "We got another drop," he said quietly. My heart sank. I slid into the chair beside him. A man I didn't recognize stood in our bedroom. Maeve kissed him as if they'd known each other forever. I closed my eyes. She's not even trying to hide it anymore. Frank grunted. "This one looks military. Clean cut, standard issue haircut, dog tags." I stood abruptly. "I want to see it with my own eyes." "Matt, don't be stupid. You said we wouldn't confront her yet." "I'm not confronting her. I just want confirmation." That night, we parked a few houses down. Frank cut the lights as we coasted into the alley behind my home. We slipped through the back gate again. She still hadn't fixed the latch. I moved silently along the back wall, heart hammering. Light glowed through the curtains of our bedroom. Figures moved behind it. "Matt, wait!" Frank hissed. But I was already at the window. I peered through the small slit in the curtain. Maeve was there, on the bed, with the soldier. He was shirtless. She was laughing. Something snapped in me. I reached for the back door. Frank tackled me sideways, both of us crashing into the bushes. "God damn it!" I whispered furiously. "You want her to win? You want a judge to see you as the lunatic husband? Think." I shoved him off but stayed down. My fists trembled. After a minute, I nodded. "Let's go." We drove to the 24-hour grocery lot again. I was shaking. Frank handed me a flask. "One sip. No more." I downed it and stared at the dashboard. "She turned our house into a brothel, Frank. And she's smiling like she's in a rom-com. You knew. We confirmed it. But you can't spiral now. I don't want her to get away with it. She won't. But you need to stay the hero. The calm one. The man who walked away." I exhaled slowly. "Then I want to rattle her. Tonight." "How?" "Call her. Let her think something happened to me. That I hit my head. That you might bring me down from the mountain." Frank smirked. "Cruel. I like it." He took my phone, scrolled for a past text, and then called Maeve. She picked up in 2 rings. "Matt?" "Hey, it's Frank. Matt had a little accident. He's okay but sleeping it off. Might bring him back tonight if he gets worse." A pause, then panic. "What kind of accident? Is he okay? Should I come?" No, stay put. We'll keep you posted." Frank ended the call and tossed the phone in his glove box. "That'll mess with her head." I gave him a tired smile. "Thanks, brother." Back at his apartment, I poured myself a glass of water and sat down with the evidence. I opened the footage again. This time, I watched every frame. Her laugh, his hands, her body language, everything about her screamed freedom. But it was freedom from me. And as I closed the laptop, one thought. I called her the next morning. Not a text, not a voicemail, a full-on FaceTime, complete with bad reception and the fake grogginess of a man who'd supposedly taken a fall. Maeve answered on the second ring. Matt? Oh my God, are you okay? I angled the camera so only part of my face was visible. I rubbed my forehead like it ached. Hey, yeah, kinda slipped on some rocks. Dumb move, still woozy. She gasped. Why didn't you call me last night? Frank said you'd just worry. I watched her glance over her shoulder. She wasn't in our house. I spotted a tall headboard I didn't recognize. Neutral hotel lighting. Where are you? I asked gently. Just stepped out to get air. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about you. I nodded. Well, good news is I'm fine. I might come home early. She froze. Her smile stiffened. Wait, you mean today? Yeah. Thought I'd surprise you. I miss you. She bit her lip. The house is a mess. I haven't cleaned. Maybe wait until tomorrow? Mess doesn't bother me, I said. I ended the call before she could scramble another excuse. Back in Frank's car, he shook his head. Man, that was cold. I wasn't lying, I said. I said I might come home. That's true, I might. Frank laughed dryly. You're messing with her mind now. Exactly. She used our bed to cheat. I'll use her guilt to corner her. So what's next? Pressure. Light and slow. Let her unravel herself. That afternoon, I texted her. You wouldn't believe what I found out here. A few minutes passed. Then, what do you mean? Found what? Are you okay? I replied, crazy how people wear masks, even with the ones they love. She blew up my phone after that. 10 texts in 20 minutes. I ignored them all. Instead, I sat in Frank's spare room now, my base of operations, and printed everything. Photos, chat logs, timestamps, faces of the men she'd let into our home. I laid them out on the wall like a crime scene, a spiderweb of betrayal. Frank walked in with 2 coffees and stopped cold. Damn! You think I'm crazy? He handed me a cup. Number, I think you finally stopped pretending. That night, we sat on the floor, reviewing the timeline. When did you first suspect something? Frank asked. 2 months ago. She started working late, wearing perfume again. I wanted to believe it was stress. Turns out it was desire. Frank nodded. And now? Now I document everything. I become the shadow she can't shake. We hung more pictures, cross-linked messages with locations. It looked like an FBI case file. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Be careful, she's not just cheating. She's planning something. I stared. Frank leaned in. What the hell is that? I don't know. But it changes the game. The next morning, I dressed like a man going to court. Slacks, shirt, clean shave. I FaceTimed her again. Hey, I smiled faintly. Feeling better. Thinking of coming home. She looked panicked. Matt, we need to talk. Yeah, I said. We really do. I ended the call before she could speak. Then I turned to Frank. Let's see how she plays when she knows she's being watched. He smiled. You're not playing chess anymore, man. This is poker. I nodded. Then it's time to raise the stakes. Tomorrow, I wasn't coming home, but I was going to make her believe I already had. Kept echoing in my skull. I was already gone from her world, but she had no idea I was watching. Tomorrow, I'd make sure she knew. I didn't sleep that night. The message from the unknown number played on repeat in my brain. She's not just cheating, she's planning something. By dawn, I had theories. None of them good. What if she's trying to flip the narrative? I said to Frank. Make it look like I'm unstable, dangerous. He nodded grimly. That's a classic move. Get ahead of the story. We knew the next play had to be defensive and invisible. First, we backed up everything. Twice. Then sent encrypted files to Kelly. Next, I wiped the burner phone. Switched numbers again. From here on, only Frank and Kelly would know how to reach me. "You're ghosting her?" Frank asked. "Number, I'm ghosting everyone. I need full control. You realize she might report you missing?" "Letter. Then I get a paper trail too." By noon, we had a secure VPN tunnel running through Frank's desktop. All future downloads from the camera system would bypass my cloud accounts. I renamed the main folder Collateral. "You're expecting her to go nuclear?" Frank asked. "I'm preparing for it." Later that day, I drove past our house for the first time since planting the cameras. Same car in the driveway. Same fake welcome mat that read, "Love lives here." Except it didn't. Love had been replaced by logistics. Across the street, I spotted a man on his phone pacing slowly. The same man I'd seen in the bedroom camera footage. He wasn't military. He was just careful. "We have a new problem," I told Frank over Bluetooth. "You think she's working with him? Or for him?" I didn't go home that night either. Instead, I parked 2 blocks away, watched through binoculars. At 11:04 p.m., she opened the door. The man stepped out, kissed her cheek, handed her a flash drive. My stomach dropped. Flash drives meant data, and data meant leverage. Back at Frank's place, we scrubbed the last 48 hours of camera feeds. She had been printing things, texts, emails. She was building her own folder. A war room, just like mine. I called Kelly at 2 a.m. "She's building a counter-narrative," I told her. "Then stay ahead," Kelly said. "Win in documentation, not emotion. What if she tries to frame me? Then we make sure her story breaks under scrutiny. Your job is to stay boring, Matt. No sudden moves, no heroic speeches." "Got it." At sunrise, I left a package at my old front door, a bouquet of wilting roses and a note. Some things die quietly. Some things don't. No name, no return address. Just handwriting she'd recognize. By noon, she texted, "Was that you?" "What does that mean? Are you okay?" I didn't answer. Control isn't about speaking first. It's about making sure silence has teeth. That night, Frank found me cataloging timestamps again. He dropped a USB on the desk. "Pulled this from the trail cam. You'll want to see it." It showed her in the living room, arguing with someone on speakerphone, pacing, agitated. But it wasn't the man from before. It was a woman's voice. One I hadn't heard before. "Who the hell is she talking to?" I asked. Frank rewound the audio, amplified it. "We told you to move fast, Maeve. He can't stay out of the picture this long. It looks suspicious." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a marriage unraveling. It was a setup. And I had just stepped into someone else's game. The audio haunted me. It wasn't just what she said, it was the tone. Commanding, unafraid. Like Maeve was reporting to her. "We told you to move fast." Who was we? By noon the next day, I had isolated the voice, cleaned it with audio filters, removed static, ran it through a vocal profiler. Frank stared at the waveform. "That accent? Midwest? Educated? Late 32nd? You think this is some kind of handler?" "Or partner," I said. "Someone who benefits from my erasure." I sent the clip to Kelly. She replied in 6 minutes. "I don't like this. Whoever she is, she sounds practiced. Maybe legal, maybe law enforcement." I froze. "You think May's being coached by a cop?" "Or a lawyer," Kelly replied. "A strategist. Someone who understands chain of custody, liability, narrative." Frank looked at me. Could be an affair. Could be a setup. Could be both. Then I need to find her. We started with traffic cams. Frank had a friend who owed him a favor in the city's IT department. Within hours, we had footage of the woman arriving 2 nights ago. Dark SUV. Crisp pantsuit. Short hair. Businesslike. She parked 3 blocks away. Walked in without hesitation. Stayed 41 minutes. Left carrying a black folder. That folder wasn't hers when she came in, I noted. She took evidence, Frank said. That night, I searched Maeve's social media again. Nothing. Then I looked deeper. Likes, comments, mutual tags. There she was. Hannah Dorsey, corporate mediator, specializes in navigating high-conflict separations with asset shielding in mind. A fixer. She and Maeve had 3 tagged photos together from a retreat in Oregon 2 years ago. They've been planning this a long time, I whispered. I met Kelly in person the next morning. You said not to act emotionally, I said. But what about preemptively? What do you have in mind? I want to confront Hannah, quietly, somewhere public, record it. Kelly frowned. That's risky. If she feels exposed, she could spin it as harassment. Not if I stay polite, curious, and never accuse. She hesitated, then nodded. You get 1 shot. Keep it surgical. We staked out her office downtown. It took 2 hours before she emerged, walking briskly with a tablet in hand. I followed from a block away, into a bookstore. Perfect. I approached casually, book in hand. Excuse me. Are you Hannah Dorsey? She glanced up. Neutral expression. I am. Do I know you? Number. But I believe you know my wife, Maeve. The flicker in her eye was small, but it was there. You must be Matt. Guilty. She smiled, cold. I assume you're not here for a reading recommendation. Number, I just wanted to thank you. For what? For confirming that everything happening to me isn't accidental. She tilted her head. Careful, Matt. Words have weight. So do silences. I held her gaze for 10 long seconds, then turned and walked out. I recorded everything. The tension, the deflection, the moment she recognized my name. And as I played it back that night, Frank said, You didn't get answers. No, I said. I got something better. What? Fear. Because for the first time since this started, they knew I was no longer a step behind. I was in the room, and I had started naming names. The next morning, the sun rose over a different battlefield. I wasn't hunting ghosts anymore. I was hunting intentions. Frank brewed a pot of coffee so dark it tasted like vengeance. We reviewed the footage again, me and Hannah, frozen in our verbal chess match. You shook her, he said. I saw it. Good, let's keep shaking. At 9:17 a.m., Maeve called. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice trembled. Matt, I heard you're back in town. Please, let's talk. I'm scared you might do something reckless. I never wanted this to get ugly. I saved the message, categorized it. Plausible deniability meets pre-fear appeal. She was pivoting, not apologizing, positioning. Kelly confirmed it later. She's laying the groundwork. She wants to look like the reasonable party. You need to remain boring. Boring, I muttered. I'm sitting on a mountain of betrayal and I need to look boring. Exactly. Boring wins court. But inside, I was ready to burn it all. That night, I went back into the house. Maeve was gone. I knew her schedule now. She had picked up a late Pilates class, conveniently timed between her meetings with consultants. I entered with gloves, checked the cameras, collected the SD cards. Then I opened her laptop. Password, still her birthday. I found folders labeled innocuously, Wellness Retreat, Legal Templates, Journal Drafts. Inside were audio logs. She had been recording conversations, her own voice narrating our story in her words. Day 43. Matt's absence continues. I'm maintaining a calm presence with the neighbors. I've met with Hannah again. We discussed how to protect the assets from emotional escalation. Emotional escalation. She met me. She was building a case that I was unstable, dangerous by default. Even absent, she was creating a character version of me to stand trial in my place. Frank, I said over speakerphone, she's writing the version of me she needs for court. Then you better start writing yours. I spent the next 4 hours drafting my own journal, verifiable, time-stamped, backed up to a cloud Kelly controlled. I documented it all. Her changing behavior, the unexplained men, The call logs, the hidden folder, names, the voice logs, and what they implied. Every paragraph was a nail in the coffin of her version. Then came the real break. Frank called me just after midnight. Got something. Security camera from the bookstore. Audio's weak, but timestamp confirms it. Hannah texted someone 90 seconds after you left. Guess who? Maeve. Yep. Screenshot coming your way. It reads, "He knows." I stared at it. Confirmation. I printed it. Pinned it to the war wall. Now I had timeline, motive, communication chain, and psychological manipulation, all backed by metadata. Maeve had built her fiction, but I had just ripped the mask off. She wasn't scared because she had something to hide. She was scared because I stopped hiding too. Tomorrow, I'd tell her that. And I wouldn't have to raise my voice to do it. The message was simple. We need to talk. Tomorrow, noon. No lawyers. I sent it from a burner phone. No name, no signature. But Maeve would know it was me. Frank stared at the screen. You sure you want to meet her in person? Yes. On my terms. In public. No cameras. No shouting. No lawyers. He exhaled. Then you better keep your temperature below boiling. We met at a small cafe in Westbridge Square. Neutral territory. Glass walls. Quiet music. Enough patrons to witness, none to interrupt. She walked in exactly at noon, wearing a light gray blazer and oversized sunglasses. Power posture over guilt. Matt, she said, like we were old colleagues. Maeve. We, Saturday. No handshake. No menu. Why now? She asked, tone rehearsed. Because it's time to stop pretending. You and I both know this was never just a rough patch. She folded her arms. So what is this? Ambush? Closure? Revenge fantasy? Reality check. I slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside, photos, timestamps, chat printouts, audio transcriptions. A signed affidavit from the tech who helped install her bedroom camera. Her hand trembled slightly as she flipped through them. You spied on me. Number I documented the truth. Because you were never going to tell it. This won't hold in court. Maybe. Maybe not. But it will hold in negotiation. She laughed dryly. So, you want to threaten me? I want to end this with dignity. You can keep your narrative. I just don't want it to bury mine. She set the envelope down like it burned. What do you want, Matt? Custody of my name. Half the house. And a clean break. No stories to the neighbors. No character assassination in court. You get silence. I get peace. She blinked slowly. Her expression cracked. Only for a second. Then the mask returned. And if I say no? I leaned back. Then this goes public. The footage. The calls. Your fixer. The affair. Everything. Not from me. From my attorney. Through proper channels. She looked away. Her voice dropped. You used to be kind. You used to be honest. A long pause. Then, fine, she whispered. I want a clause. You don't speak about me publicly. Ever. Not even to mutual friends. Done. And I keep the car. It was yours anyway. And you delete the videos. I hesitated. Once we sign, not before. She stood. No handshake. No goodbye. Just, you've changed. I didn't respond. I just watched her walk away, slower than she arrived. Back at Frank's, I poured a bourbon. He raised an eyebrow. That quick? It's not over, but it's begun to end. I placed the envelope on the table. Control, I said, isn't about domination. It's about clarity. And now, I had both. Tomorrow, Kelly would draft the first settlement offer. And for the first time in months, I wasn't playing defense. I was writing the terms. The deal was verbal. The leverage was documented. Now came the real test. Extraction without fire. Kelly arrived at Frank's with a tablet and 2 non-disclosure templates. We do this by the book. You're not the villain. You're the vault. I nodded. I want clean hands. You already have clean hands, but now we make sure they stay that way. That afternoon, Kelly filed the settlement proposal. Division of assets, mutual NDAs, and silence clauses. No children, no contested property beyond the house and car. By evening, Maeve's response came back through her attorney. Red lines, conditions, counter-offers. She wanted exclusive rights to certain digital assets, access to our shared vacation fund, full deletion of surveillance data. I gave her 2, denied the last. We don't erase proof, Kelly said. We escrow it. Smart, I said, truth in cold storage. The next day, I visited the house one last time. Not to fight, to pack. Every drawer had a memory. Every closet held a version of who we once were. I boxed the photos, the vinyls, the hiking boots she never liked, left the kitchenware, took the chessboard. She arrived mid-afternoon. No makeup, no sunglasses, just Maeve, the real one, or whoever she was now. This is weird, she said softly. Yeah. We stood in silence. Not resentment, not love, just a funeral of intimacy. Frank helped me load the car. Kelly double-checked the documents. As I signed the final page, I asked, "When does it all feel real?" She said, "When you stop checking if she's called." That night, I stayed in a hotel 30 miles out. Blank walls, thin pillows, no memories. I slept for 11 hours. In the morning, I mailed 1 USB to Kelly, another to my brother, a third to a secure cloud vault. Redundancy is peace, Frank had said. I believed him now. A week later, the house sold. 2 weeks later, her name disappeared from the mailbox. A month later, I got a postcard from Hannah Dorsey. No words, just a photo. A chessboard. Her king was down. I smiled. Closure doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes, it comes as silence. And checkmate. The silence was louder than the storm. For the first week, I didn't dream. No nightmares, no twisted replays, just dark, clean nothingness. Kelly called to confirm Maeve's countersignature. The documents were filed. The NDA's active. No more lawyers. No more shadows. Frank came by with a six-pack and a grin. You're officially divorced, my man. You gonna cry or grill? Maybe both. We grilled. We didn't talk about her. We talked about weather and football and how nobody really likes IPAs. And then he left, and it was quiet again. I moved into a small one-bedroom near the lake, the kind of place where neighbors wave, but don't ask questions. I liked it. No photos on the wall, no shared toothbrush, no mirrors in the bedroom. Just space. Space to stop performing. Space to think without accusation. Space to become someone again. The first morning there, I made pancakes just for myself. No one to split them with. No judgment for too much syrup. No comment about carbs. Just warm food and the sound of my own chewing. It felt strange, but strangely honest. On day 12, I opened the envelope Maeve had left in my hiking bag. Just a letter, 1 page. Matt, I never lied about loving you. I just stopped knowing how. Maybe that's worse. Maybe someday, this version of us won't hurt. Man, I folded it slowly and dropped it into a drawer. Closure isn't forgiveness. It's knowing which wounds don't need more stitches. I started writing again. Not journals, not evidence logs, just words, stories, letters I'd never send. Descriptions of moments that felt real. Like the time we camped in Vermont and it rained all night, but she laughed anyway. Or the way her voice used to crack when she said, always. I didn't hate her. I hated that I hadn't seen her slipping away. But hate dissolves when truth settles. And the truth was, I'd survived her. Kelly offered me a consulting role for her firm's digital privacy cases. You've become very good at documentation, she said, only when my life depended on it, which is what makes you better than most. I said yes, I built routines. Walks in the morning. Silence in the evening. Phone always off by 9. I picked up journaling again. Real journaling. Not surveillance. Not self-defense. Just thoughts, worries, memories that didn't sting as much anymore. I made a playlist of songs I used to love before the marriage. I let music fill the cracks where resentment used to live. Some nights I lit candles just because. Not for ambiance, for reclaiming the habit of caring about small things. I saw Maeve once more. 3 months later. Grocery store. She was alone. No ring, no makeup, just jeans and a hoodie. Her cart was full of wine and almond milk. We locked eyes for 2 seconds. She nodded. I nodded back. That was it. No fire. No collapse. Just 2 people who used to know each other passing through parallel lives. Afterward, I took the long way home. Drove past our old street. The shutters had been repainted. Someone new had planted white roses along the driveway. I felt nothing. Not because I didn't care, but because that version of me no longer lived there. That night, I sat by the lake. No phone, no music. Just water and wind and the kind of silence that doesn't echo. For the first time, I missed her without pain. And in that moment, I realized something. The aftermath isn't what comes after the end. It's the beginning of what you build when no one's watching. And I was ready to build.